Hello my friends and welcome. Good airplane I have here, yeah? Not the Boeing 737 which I used to fly, but nevertheless it's Mooney, by the way, Mooney, piston engine private airplane. And again I was wondering what to talk about today. And yeah, I got some of the questions sometimes about how I left Ukraine, why did I left Ukraine. People sometimes call me a draft dodger, deserter from Ukrainian army. Well, most of them are Russian bots after all, but questions are being asked, so I want to answer them today. Well, if you follow me on streams, you probably already know the answer to those questions, because sometimes I answer them right away if there are some of the questions on the chat. And by the way, I stream every day on Captain Denys YouTube channel, and also have Twitch, which is in the video description just below. So follow me on Twitch as well. I'm double streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Twitch. Well, anyways, let's go back to the question of the day. At first, I'm gonna tell you the story about my background. So I'm not a military guy at all. I was not conscripted to Ukrainian army when I was young, even though I have received the conscription notice, but I was studying in university by the time, so it was the extension period for my conscription. Later on I started to work in the airline, and there we have like the guys who go to military and they say, oh, we need this guy, so don't take him. And since I used to work as a pilot, there are some of the exclusions for my profession. And by the way, that is how I also left Ukraine, because there's also exclusion for pilot profession or for maritime profession to leave Ukraine. So if you're a sailor, a pilot, you can leave Ukraine quite easily. Well, at least it was like that before. I don't follow that legislation right now, and I wouldn't risk to go back to Ukraine, because there is pretty much low chance for me now to exit, because I wasn't working as an airline pilot for an extensive period of time, maybe already 4 years. It's been 4 years already. Wow, crazy. My last flight was from Delhi to Rasilheim and to Kiev, Borispol, just a couple of days before the war has started. Probably that flight is still available on my pilot blog channel. Yeah, I have 3 YouTube channels: Denys Davydov pilot blog and Captain Denys, and I try to upload something on each. So yeah, just for you to understand, I wasn't really connected to military, even though my relatives, like for example my grandpa, he used to serve in the Soviet army, also on aircraft, Antonov 12, 18 or Ilyushin 22, as far as I remember. He flown the surveillance airplane in the Soviet army, but my father and me, no, we were not connected to military at all. And even in 2014, when the war had started, they didn't conscript me to the army, because basically I was out of the military experience. There was no conscription service of mine and no special training for the officer's position. So yeah, I was out of the base, really. Yeah, they have me in their base, but not in the list to conscript. But in 2022, then the full-scale war had started. We left the place together with my wife and my daughter. We went to her relatives. They live in a small village in Vinnytsia Oblast, and there I spent a couple of months. And I went to the conscription service there because it was mandatory for everyone, for all of the new arrivals, for all of the men to go there. They obtain my data, they look at me, and they say to me that they are full, and definitely they were queues to join the Ukrainian army by the time. Even in the small villages, in the big cities or towns, people were really motivated to join Ukrainian army. I wouldn't say that I was really motivated myself, to be honest, because I understood that Russians enter Ukraine with huge forces, and the chances for me to stay alive are quite low. If I get conscripted to Ukrainian army, and after all I have family, my daughter, she needs her father, so I have my responsibility for her life, for her future. That's basically the main reason why I left Ukraine. Yeah, I understand that some people in the comments would say, oh, Denys, you are hiding behind your family, but actually it's like that. That's the main reason. And the second reason behind that is basically afraid to die. Yes, And now obviously Ukrainian army is happy to take absolutely everyone, but in this case I wouldn't live for long, as I say to you already. And some people in the comments continue to say, Denys, you could be a drone pilot, Denys, you could be F-16 pilot or transport aviation pilot. But those kind of the comments is the evidence that people do not understand how the system works, not just in Ukraine but in most of the armies. You cannot go to army and tell, I want to be F-16 pilot, I want to fly Sukhoi 25, Sukhoi 27 or something like that. No, to become a military pilot, first of all you go through the officer training and later on type rating, and it takes years and years. It's not the easy task. That's why our pilots from different aircraft like MiG-29 are being trained for flying F-16s, and flying commercial and military, those are totally separate things. Yeah, I would fly the aircraft, I'm sure about it, but what's about tactics, what's about military combat training? In Ukraine, cadets spent several years teaching all of that stuff. Have enough people to fly airplanes. There's not enough airplanes for our pilots to operate, let's say it honestly. And the same goes for drone positions. I cannot say, okay, you know what, I want to fly drones, let's say Bayraktar or maybe big Baba Yaga drone. No, it doesn't work like that. The problem in Ukraine, it's a big problem actually, that military conscription services, they don't care about your background. They don't care whether you know English, know IT or something else. They just take people, individuals, they open their list. Okay, we need infantry position, attack battalions, regiments, all of the people there go here, and really they don't care. So if I go, the probability for me to be conscripted right into the trenches is 99.9%. And for sure, with my zero experience, with my health, it's one-way ticket. Yeah, it's rainy here, so I'm gonna change the perspective to stay here with you. Oh my god, luckily I have an umbrella. I already started recording, so I should finish it. And there were a couple of the cases with my mates who were flying as airline pilots before, but were conscripted also right into the trenches to assault regiments. And it took them lots and lots of the efforts, plus some of the connections, to get out from those positions. So one of those mates is now instructor on small airplanes, so still there is the pilot training in Ukraine, and the other one flies transport airplane as the first officer. But again, he was lucky because that position is basically overwhelmed. They took him for crowded position, really. I guess connections after all help a lot. So the probability for me personally to become some sort of the drone operator, it seems like we have less rain now, so this probability is very, very low. It is almost close to zero, I would say you honestly. That's why I'm here. Yeah, if I was alone without any family, I would join Ukrainian army. Yeah, I would finish my life just like that, with some of the fear also, because it's normal for every human to afraid, and people who fight in Ukrainian army, they're not cyborgs, no, they have this fear, and they sacrifice a lot, you know. Yeah, some people also encourage me saying, oh Denys, you do so much for Ukraine with your Denys Davydov channel, saying about Ukrainian updates every day. And yeah, I understand that I'm influential figure, that I speak about Ukraine, that I also have my own risks to be in this public format or something and support Ukraine like that. Also, we are collecting some of the funds for Ukrainians, Ukrainian army as well. There is an organization called Your Finnish Friends, so I cope with them several of the times, and my subscribers participated a lot in raising the funds for Ukraine. And also I fight some of the Russian propaganda. Informational field is very important nowadays. There is also the fight not just on the front lines but for mindset of people around, and Russian propaganda is really strong. They pour millions and millions of dollars into it around the world. Also towards the Western audience, they're agents of influence of the Russian Federation. So yeah, I understand that it's very, very important job that I do, but still it is uncomparable to what our guys sacrifice being deployed on the front lines. That is why For this reason, I do not even call myself a Ukrainian patriot, because I'm more patriot of my family if I didn't stay in Ukraine and if I actually exited the country without being conscripted for Ukrainian armed forces. So if I was a patriot of Ukraine, if my country was number one for me, I would stay there and fight, of course. But no, I have priorities which are higher for me than my country, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know. It depends from what side you look at that. But in general, I like my country a lot, and that's why I had that channel speaking about Ukraine almost every day. It is very important, and I just hope that what I do helps Ukraine. Yeah, actually physically it helps because we collect some of the funds, and I personally also support people whom I know, our pilots who were flying with me in my airline. Some of them joined actually Ukrainian army, and out there they had the military background in aviation, by the way. Some of them flying big drones, some of them flying in the Ukrainian Air Force because they had this experience before joining the airline. So that's the possible way for a commercial pilot actually to join the Air Force, but not from the very beginning without any sort of the military experience. So again, I'm telling you that the comment why Denys is not flying F-16s in Ukraine, it is kind of stupid comment. At least I do something, yeah, to support my country, but there are multiple of people who just left Ukraine and that's it. They're on their own. The country is out there. They do absolutely nothing for Ukrainian people. But also there are high-rank Ukrainian officials who also left Ukraine and their family members, and they do absolutely zero. It seems like there is the rain again and I have to put umbrella. Sorry guys that I'm changing this all the time, but I have to do it. So the system mobilization itself, it fucked up actually. Ukrainian government fucked it up, honestly saying. People were so motivated in 2022 to defend the country, but now we see lots of the corruption also in military conscription too. So people who have money, they pay and they are not being conscripted. Basically, it's the war for poor, you may say. Guys, it is honestly like that. If you go to Ukraine and as a foreigner, you may go there and exit, it's not a problem. And check out how people live in the villages. There are no men left in the villages. They're all being conscripted to the army. But in the cities, life continues. Businessmen, politicians and their family members, they are pretty much fine with this mobilization. So it's injustice. People are being conscripted just from the streets, grabbed out, like for example ICE, yeah, ICE raids in United States. We have this same rates for forced conscriptions in Ukrainian army. I don't think it's good. I think there should be a motivation done by Ukraine, some programs, encouragements. You see in Russia how it works. Yeah, they pay millions of rubles and Russians are still willing to go. Still they have volunteers, lots of them every month, thousands and thousands of the soldiers. Yeah, this year is less than the previous one, but still they go and go. In Ukraine the situation is different and I would say more difficult. So yeah, you may call me a deserter, draft dodger, or maybe scared guy who afraid to die, but I think it's normal to afraid. So I had the chance not to be conscripted and to leave the country, so I used it. And do I regret it? Honestly, no. Do I think that I did something really wrong? From one side, yes, from another, not. Depends how you look at it. Still, sometimes I have those thoughts to go to Ukraine and to fight for Ukrainian army, but they only come then I'm in depression and I had this feeling to finish absolutely everything. Luckily now I'm not in depression any longer, so those thoughts are no longer with me. Saying that, guys, I encourage you to support Ukraine in every means possible, as I also do. And again, there is no rain or just a light rain. Guys, please don't forget to like this video and also subscribe for this channel, because you motivate me to film more and more of the stuff. This topic of mobilization, conscription, and I guess my past as well, requires more time actually. Maybe I'm gonna film one more video about it with many more details, but we'll see. After all, I said what I wanted to say. for example today, maybe I'll get some of the hate even for it. Well, I don't really care, guys, because I want to be really honest with you, so I speak what I think. My thoughts for now are just like that. We'll see, then the time goes, maybe I may change also, but anyways, you'll know about it. And now please don't forget to press your like to this video and subscribe for the channel. Ciao.